Okay, I'm going to attempt to explain a little bit about how insulin resistance occurs scientifically. So let's start out with an example of just eating some food. Okay, we have some food, and in this case, we had some carbs, and it's going to break down into glucose. Okay, and so to notate glucose, we will just put a G. That will stand for glucose. And then because it has broken down into a smaller form, remember it's going to be absorbed into the bloodstream. Okay, so glucose is absorbed into the bloodstream. And so you'll see some glucose, okay? And if you eat just, a small amount of, carbs or whatever, then a small amount of glucose is fine and it will balance itself out. But let's say you have a huge spike and you ate sugary, so you have too much glucose. Well, what's going to happen now? We have the pancreas is going to send out some insulin, okay? So it's going to say, hey, I need to direct you. I need to direct some traffic, okay? So, it's going to direct traffic to some cells, okay? So here it's going to say, okay, I'm opening up a door for you. Go in here. I'm opening up a door for you. Go in here. And so pretty soon you get the glucose going in each cell. And remember, if you remember from high school biology, you have glucose is used to make energy, right? And essentially it is energy in a way. So what we're going to do here is use this for energy. So, but what about if you didn't exercise that day? This is the nucleus, by the way. This is a cell, by the way. Okay. And so the sugar, I don't want to go too deep into this. I guess I'm not going to write out the formula. But let's just say glucose in the presence of oxygen is going to create some energy. And that's great. But what happens when you have too much, okay? And you constantly are eating and you're not giving your body a break, and the glucose just starts coming in and filling in, right? Well, it can't fill in unless you have some more insulin, right? So more insulin is made and more glucose is going in, and eventually this area gets full and the cell no longer wants to accept it. So what happens now? Insulin's like, well, I have a secondary plan. Let's make some fat. Okay, come on, guys. Now your new home is here. So it starts taking this in and making it into fat. And that's how we start gaining weight. Okay, and so this is like basically the first signs of like gaining weight. This is like the first sign of insulin resistance. And this is a sign of what might happen when you get pre-diabetes or eventually diabetes, right? And so it all has to do with the level of glucose and how it's not healthy for our body to have that. So you remember, our body is always trying to maintain the state of homeostasis, and all that means is just a constant state. And your blood has to be at a certain pH, and it cannot have too much sugar because it's basically toxic. You can die. Okay, so it has to consistently or keep a consistent amount of things in the blood vessels. And so this is why it has to either transfer it to the cell or transfer it into some fat. Okay, and then pretty soon, what happens when these fat areas like the adipose tissue, this all gets full? Now they're going to start sending it to places that are near your heart, near your liver, and all that area. It's going to start being sent to other places besides just your midsection area. And that's when it starts to get very dangerous. And this is what causes heart disease and, heart attacks and all that stuff. So this is why, just simple things such as eating too much sugar, eating too many carbs can cause, issues. health issues in the future that, are detrimental to you. And, one good way to help yourself out is use up this glucose. How do you use up this glucose? Work out, right? Or just don't eat it in the first place. Reduce your carb intake, reduce your sugar intake. Does that mean reduce all of it? 0? No, because it's never the right thing. You never just knock out one food group. That's just, not okay, because we do still need glucose. But, ways that you can get around this is reduce your intake, reduce your food intake, reduce your sugar intake, reduce your intake of carbs, and you can up your workout. Okay? So up the workout means you're going to use up your glucose. So that's basically how we are going to fight insulin resistance.